can have this record afterwards of the session. You will get an email during tonight, I think, where we get all the informations, the recorded session. I think it's a zip file with test files and the presentation you will see now. Okay, let's start. Yes, welcome to our web session today regarding topic of PDF processing. So let's have a look into what we can do with PDFs and what we can do with flattening, and if there are any possibilities to check a PDF. Are there any transparencies included, and do I have to flat the PDF during the workflow, during the color management, for example, in the GMG color server, or is it not needed? So please, if you don't see anything or you don't hear me, please write me a short note in the chat, but I think some of you wrote that it's loud and clear, so hopefully the screen is also shared and you will see everything. At first, I want to introduce myself. I'm Clemens. I'm part of the professional service here at GMG. I'm at GMG since 2016, and I'm in the graphical industry since 1997. And in the life before GMG, I was a workflow manager or production and technical support at a big company here in Germany, a media production company here in Germany. And before I was a media designer and a post-production. So I did some retouches or final artworks. Regarding the agenda for this short web session today, we will have a look into PDF transparency, so overprinting. So in my opinion, sometimes we have this issue with the overprint. Do I have to flat some overprint information in the PDF? Is it okay to process the file without flattening? And we can have a look afterwards in some test files what will happen if I am flattening a PDF or don't flat a PDF, what will happen with the overprint information. And then we can have a look into the converting PDF files and in the flattening, normalizing templates in the color server. So let's start with the transparency. Transparency basics. Transparency is an object attribute. So I think all of you knows that if you are designing or designing a page in InDesign, it's possible to highlight one element, one object, and give it a transparency attribute. So you can give me a so-called blend mode. You can hard light, you can hard light or multiplication or something else. So this is an attribute for transparency. And yes, every transparency needs a blending rule for colors, or it is a blending rule for colors. Common color space is needed or is required for blending. So if you want to calculate the PDF, or you want to process the PDF afterwards, you need this blending color space. So it's not possible to calculate with two different color spaces. You need one color space. So it's needed to convert the files into one color space. Then you're able to blend these color spaces. Transparency effect results of the blending computation of object colors, source and background. Yeah, let's see. Let's have a look into transparency groups, for example. Don't know if you know this isolated attribute. In InDesign, for example, you can give the objects two attributes. It's an isolated or non-isolated object. And if you, for example, work with isolated objects in group do not interact with group background. You will see it in the small pic on the right side. These gray bubbles on these rainbow shading. And it's also possible to use a non-isolated. So every object is interacting with the group background, and you will also see it on the right side. So they are two different possibilities to work with transparencies, isolated or non-isolated. And you can also give him the attribute knockout or non-knockout. So every single object inside the group blends individually with the group's background. So this is the knockout attribute. And with the non-knockout, inside the group blends first with each other. So it's a complete different attribute, and it's a complete different kind of work with these elements. And you see the difference between these attributes on the right side on the pics. So what I will show to you with these pics is, with these examples is, what is the difference between these transparencies and what is the color server, for example, doing with these informations afterwards in the processing. So we will have a look into the files afterwards. So I have some original files and some converted files or processed files. So we can have a look into that afterwards. And also you will get these files with the email tonight. So you can have a look into these files tomorrow. So you can try to reproduce these examples. Yes, so it's the same as in the slides before. You will see there are a couple of transparency groups, isolated or knockout overview, and you will see the complete different behaviors of that. So we have this non-isolated knockout, for example, on left side. It's complete different to these gray bubbles, to these isolated informations on the upper images. Then we have, for example, and we will see it in an example afterwards also, this multiplication. For example, you have this green and bluish color on the left side, and what will happen when we, for example, ink optimizing these files, and what will happen if we ink optimize and flat the file, and if we ink optimize and don't flat the file. So normally there must be two complete different colors. So the color management is grabbing box per box or file per file, and doing the color management and processing it together afterwards. But sometimes it's needed to flat the file before we are doing the color management, because if we don't flat the file, it could be that you have a complete different color after the processing. And I think we will have it in a better overview afterwards with the test files. Then it's much clearer, I think. You can do this with a multiplier or with a hard light. I think you know these blend modes in InDesign. So every element or every box or image you dragged into InDesign, you're able to give them the attribute an effect, and this effect means, okay, there's a hard light, or there's a multiplication, or there's anything else, and these it could have an effect to the color after the processing. Let's go to the overprint, because I think overprint is also could be also a transparency, but it's not a classical, a basic transparency. Normally we talk about these multiplications. We are talking about alpha masks. We are talking about shadows or something else, but we don't talk about overprint. So overprint is I think overprint is also a kind of transparency. So it could be that if you are working with overprints and you're converting it in the color server in a color management process, it could be necessary to work with flattening, for example. But let's have a look to this overprint issue also in the test files afterwards. Overprint is also an object attribute, so you can click on an element in InDesign and give him the information you have to overprint now. And overprint can be set for stroke and fill separately. So we are talking to OP, it's the same as stroke, or OP other than strokes, so fill, shading, image. Yes, there's an example with an overprint and for a normal CMYK color and a spot color. So if you, for example, take a color 30080 and you will overprint it with a Pantone Violet C, which is 100%, you will get as a result 30080-100. So, but sometimes it could be you have this issue, you have a 30080 CMYK color and you want to overprint with a yellow 50%, you get the result 30050. So it's you see that, for example, the yellow channel is not increasing, it's decreasing. So this could also be happening in the overprint. And and we have this additional overprint method, overprint mode, sorry, OPM. Could be that you have seen it. For example, if you're working with pit stop, you can click on some elements in the PDF, some boxes in the PDF, some images in the PDF, and sometimes you will see this OPM 1 or OPM 0. So could be that you have recognized it in the PDF before. So OPM extends the normal overprint for the device CMYK color space, and OPM has no effect with disabled overprint. So if you disable the normal overprint, you can switch the OPM on or not. This has no effect, and OPM is not applicable for image shading and pattern. Another example, with this OPM mode, you will see we have this the same CMYK color on the left side as before, and then we will overprint 100 black. And the result, if we have an active OPM mode, the overprint mode, we will have a 30080-100K, and if we deactivate the OPM, you will see we don't have an overprint. So the mixture of the colors is only 100. So it's like a non-opaque layer. Overprint and color management. Overprint effect becomes unpredictable after color management. So let's have a look into some test file afterwards where we can have a look into, because color management adds color channels and changes PDF color space type. For example, device N to device CMYK. If you had a look into a PDF from, for example, InDesign, if you have exported an InDesign, and a PDF from InDesign, and you measure into the PDF, it could be that you will find some device N colors. And after the color management, these device N means 1 or 2 or 3 channels included, but not 4. It's not a normal CMYK, but after the color management, it's a device CMYK. So we are converting the color. Color management adds tint to empty channels. So it could be if your source image has, or your source color is a 180-00, you get afterwards a 98-77-30. So you see that I think you know that color management is playing with the color. So it could be that we add some color or remove some color in the color management. And so I think when we now are talking about the overprint, it could be that if you're converting the file without flattening, for example, it could be that the overprint method will be changed. And in this case, let's have a look into some test files. At first, I want to show you these drops on this green background. On the left side, we have transparency. On the right side, we have the files flattered. And yeah, let's have a look to the second one. On the left side, you see that the drop is much more yellowish after the conversion, after the color server, after the color management. And on the right side is the flattened image. And you see, yes, it's like the original. So it could be that if you don't use flattening in the during the PDF processing, during the color management, that your color is shifting to any color. So it's reproducible, yes, but it's not possible to say, okay, this drop will be after the color management will be more yellowish as before. Yeah, let's have a look into some test files. Therefore, I will quit the presentation, and now I will change the monitor. Just a second, please. So I have to switch to my main monitor. Okay, hopefully you will see all now my first screen here. If not, please write me a short message, but I think it should work. So I will open the chat again. So, okay, perfect. At first, let's have a look into this PDF with these strange overprint information. And let's open it in Acrobat Pro. So what you see now is that, for example, the left side is quite the same image, and on the right side you will see these very different information. Let's open the print production and go to the output preview. And now you see, if you simulate the overprint, one of the pictures will be changing to an overprint picture. And what we think is, and what we get a lot of tickets in the support is, how can we find out with let's say normal tools what will happen with this file, or what is the problem with this file, for example. And we think a very easy way can be the object inspector in Acrobat, for example. With the object inspector, you can click in the file, and now you get a couple of informations regarding the elements. For example, you see now this knockout transparency group, and you see the blend mode, and you see there's a color space device N. So this could be a hint for you how you have to proceed the file. Do you have to flat the file, or do you have you don't need to flat the file? For example, if you click now on this picture on the left side, you see it's an isolated knockout transparency group. So you can do this in InDesign very easy. I will show it to you. Let's open that InDesign file, and let's have a look to the attributes and to the effects in InDesign. If I highlight one of these gray bubbles here, you will see there's an overprint and there is no effect. So if I now switch on the overprint view, you will see the same as in the PDF. And for example, if I now highlight the gray bubbles below, you don't see anything. There's no overprint and there is no effect. Okay, let's ungroup the files and let's have a look. Okay, well, what's that? So you see that normally all these bubbles are multiplied with each other, but it's grouped and it's isolated. See that? Or it's a knockout group. So now you can play with these informations, isolated blending or knockout group. So if you're playing with this, it's a complete different image. And now the question is, do we have to work with these files in a different way during the flattening, or can we do work with the same settings, for example? And therefore, I created a couple of test files. You can download these test files, I think, or you will get the download files in the email during tonight. But let's have a look into. So at first, I will open this one and let's check. It's a flattened file. So let's go into the file with the object inspector and let's have a look. Okay, it seems okay. So we have the same behavior as before. If you switch on and off the overprint, it looks okay for us, I think. And then we can do, for example, the non-flat. See, oh, it's the same behavior. So if we simulate the overprint, it looks like before. So in this case, it doesn't matter if we flat or if we don't flat. There's no big difference. But let's have a look into, for example, this one. So there is no big difference because regarding the simulate overprint or not, I think there is no change. And for example, let's open the flat file, which we are calculated with flattening. You see there is no difference, and let's have a look into the object inspector. There are no transparencies included after the processing, and let's have a look into the non-flattening, and you see, okay, there's also no difference between the simulate overprint or not. And but what you have is you have also this non-knockout transparency group after the color processing. So it could be a good idea to work with flattening, or it could be a good idea to work with non-flattening. But let's close all the files. Let's have a look into the overprint file, for example. I will go to this one. This is an original file. You have this, let's go to the separation. You have this bluish color here and this reddish color here. And now we have this overprint information. So if I switch it off, you will see, okay, the red is overprinting the blue. And if we go to the object inspector, we see there is no transparency group, so there are no real transparencies included. There's only an overprint information. And what will happen now if we, for example, do an ink optimization, but without flattening? Could you see the difference? Okay, we have done ink optimization, but no flattening. So you see that we grabbed the bluish color and we converted it. We grabbed the red one. There's the same 100, 150. Let's check what is the 100, 150. Okay. We don't grab it, we don't convert it. And oh, you see this area, this overprint area is now very reddish. So it's not like the original. And we have a total area coverage of 323%. It could be too much for example, a couple of print modes, print methods. Let's have a look into that one, into the same file. We have preset with flattening. So for example, we can also go with the object inspector. We have also no transparency included, but when we go with the separation in the blue one, we have the same color as before, 73, 66, 11, 73, 66, 11, but you will see the big difference in the middle of the image. Now we have calculated the overprint correctly. So this is the original file. This is the file which we have flattened, and this is the file we have preset with no flattening. So and you also see the total area coverage of 192%. So there's a big difference between files which have an overprint information included, which you're working with non-flattening or which you're working with flattening. So please be aware of that. It could be that if you're working with non-flattening, you get this strange behavior of the files. Okay. Let's go back to our presentation. So therefore, I have to switch back the monitor to my second screen. Just a second, please. Okay, and Okay, let's go to the flattening presets or the normalizing presets in the color server. And there's only an example of color server. I think this is normal behavior of the color management. So if you're working with transparencies, if you're working with overprint informations and you want to color manage these files, you get always the same behavior. So this is not a GMG issue; it is an issue of the color management. So yeah. Now in color server, for example, you have the possibility to set a couple of functions, or you can have a couple of functions. For example, these flattening settings, these flattening informations. So in our recommendation, please activate the flattening. Then you have the possibility to have a real and a good color management. Then we have, for example, this preserve single channel layers function. I think it's a very cool function because in this case, you can handle these multi-language channels. For example, you have the possibility, you have the need in multi-channel language, for example, in these retailer productions, catalog productions, you have the issue, you have to switch the languages from German to English, from English to France, from France to Spain, don't know. And then you have the possibility to activate these preserve single channel layers. So the function is that if you have a layer in the PDF, for example, a text layer, which includes only one channel, we will preserve these channels. So we don't color manage these channels. So you can switch off the layer or switch on the layer afterwards. I will show it to you after that session. Advanced flattening settings. Advanced flattening settings mean you can convert all text to outlines if necessary, or you clip complex fractions if it's necessary. So it could be a good idea to play around a bit. What's the best default setting for your production? And where necessary is the transparency blend space. So this means that we have to convert all the different gamut files, all the different color spaces, different CMYK or different RGB into one transparency blend space to have the possibility to flat. So yes, these preserve single channel layers, all objects are using only one channel, no flattening, no normalizing, no color management. Use case is multi-language support, for example. Then we have these advanced flattening settings, GMG default settings recommended for press output and final proof, and preserve output black options for vector text. Transparency blend space needed if no normalizing is selected, and the default setting is ISO-coded V2. So we think that the most files which are produced are in ISO-coded. So these are our default settings. If you don't set any different profile, we will use ISO-coded V2. So normalizing process, normally if you have an Adobe RGB, it's Nemix color processing to ISO-coded, for example, you will convert it to. In the normalization, we will grab all the different color spaces and will normalize it to a normalizing color space. This could be ISO-coded. It could also be a different color space, and then we will convert it to, for example, PSR LVC. So this means normalization. Grab all the different color spaces into one, and then convert into one. Normalizing converts different color spaces to one. Normalizing can be the final color space, but could also be combined with further MX color processing, for example, ink optimizer or calibrations. Yes, and last but not least, we have the spot colors. So we are also able to work with the spot colors. So you can in the color server, for example, you can define how to process, or how is the processing rule for the spot colors. Do I have to ignore it and keep them unchanged, for example, or convert using CMYK values from the PDF or from a DB3 or from something else, so convert to normalizing color space. And it could be an idea, but this depends on your workflow. So we convert the spot colors into CMYK. You will see it here. This is the process, and now now you can decide, shall I convert the files before the spot colors, or should the spot color convert it, for example, from isocoded to PSR as the CMYK values you will see on this line. Okay, just have a look, a short look. I think we have this additional time into the last test file regarding this single channel layer. So I will switch the monitor once more, and hopefully you will see it now. I have this I'm a test page, and now you will see in the test page, for example, hopefully it's the right one. No, so we have this text layer, and now it could be you get this PDF, you don't know is the text behind this black shadow, or is it in front of the black shadow? So if it's behind and you flatten, it could be that you will get this one. Just have a look. I think you will see these fragments of text in the shadow. So this is not what you want, because then you are not able to change the language. But if you enable this preserve layer, we flat the PDF. It's a flattened PDF. We preserve the layer, and you see there's the text included. And now you're able to switch the text, for example, from English to German or something else. So this is the benefit of this small function, preserved single channel layers. So it could be a helpful tool, a helpful function for the multi-channel, for the multi-language production. Okay, let's switch back to our presentation to number 2 and activate it once more. So, and now we are at the end of our web session, I think. Let's check if we have some questions. There is one. Does that mean we should first flattening PDF X4 before any color management in order to be sure not having issue in the printer processing when they will prepare their own plate? Because if not, we can be 100% sure. No. Yeah, PDF X4 is yeah, it's a special question. In my opinion, yes, because a PDF X4 means you have the possibility to include transparency. It's not a must-have, so it's you can do that. But for example, if you have these open transparencies, and for example you proof it, for example with a color proof from GMG, you have to flatten the PDF with any settings. So you have to flatten the PDF and then to proof the PDF. And then you have these proofed PDF, and you give it to your customer, and the customer says, yes, that's perfect, that looks very good. And then you give the open PDF X4 to the printing company. And the printing company have to flatten it again, to proof it again, or to bring it to the plate. So it could be that they have different settings for the flattening, and it could be that they have a different result. So that's my opinion. In my opinion, it would be a good idea to flat it before you will give it to a printing company. But sometimes it could be a good idea to take the phone, give your responsible guy, responsible person in the print company a phone call, and yeah, talk to each other, and let him know, okay, you are working with PDF X4. Is it okay for you or not? What will you do with the transparent informations, and so on? Okay. Yes. Then we are at the end of our web session. If you are interested, we have a couple of trainings in the autumn this year. So next trainings are in the October, for example, color management basics, from test print to characterization, or GMG open color proof and separation for the packaging industry. If you want to know more, yeah, write us an email, give us a phone call, something else. You will find our contact informations in the presentation. And yeah, I think that's all for today. Thank you very much for your attention. And yes, I wish you a nice day. Okay, see you. Bye-bye.